My name is Mrs. Bradshaw. Your schedule might say Miss Peplinsky because I recently got married. So, same person, you're in the right place. I like to record my lessons when I can so that if you're absent or if you need to look back on something, you have it available to you. Normally, I'll publish them publicly on YouTube, but since this is the intro one, very specific to our class and a little bit about me, it's just going to be private to you guys. So let's jump into this and you'll get a little preview of what we will do on this first day. Hopefully this will also help you out a little bit if you have any anxiety about coming into the class. You can look at this ahead of time if you really want to, but please don't feel obligated to. Every day in class, we're going to have a little warm up. And for your first warm up, I'm going to have you create a name card for me. So on this name card, please write what you would like me to call you, any pronouns that you'd like me to know about, and draw something that tells me a little something about you. So I'll give you some time to do that. I'll talk to you about these instructions when you come in. I'll show you this example of a name card that could be mine. So I've got my pets on here. This is Jester, Momo, and Gary. And you can draw your own pets. You can draw symbols of TV shows you watch, artists you listen to, sports you play, books you enjoy, whatever comes to mind. Just tell me a little something about yourself with this name card. I should be able to look at your name card and know something personal about you. So once we've had some time to do that, I'll tell you all a little bit more about me. This is my second year teaching American history at Providence. And again, my name last year was Miss Peplinsky. So you're welcome to call me Miss Pep as my students did last year. But I'm looking forward to embracing my recently new last name. I just got married on June 14th. This is my husband, Josiah. I previously taught at Hopewell, so I've got this picture up here. And I have lived in Charlotte my whole life. I graduated from UNC Charlotte. And I am a huge pusher for UNC Charlotte. I hope you all will consider going there, consider applying. I know that in your junior year, as most of you are juniors, you really look at colleges more closely. A huge advocate for UNCC. I think it's often overlooked since it's so close by. So if you're interested in that, please talk to me. If you're interested in anything I study, I'd love to talk to you too. I studied political science, history, and secondary ed in undergrads. That's like the 4-year bachelor's degree. And I'm working on a master's degree now in public administration, budget, and finance. So if that interests you as well, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about that. So every day when you are in class, nearly every single day, you're going to have a guided notes paper to follow along with as we go through these slides. So today you will have picked up this paper on your first day as you walk into the classroom. I always want you to grab that and have it ready to go so that when we're ready to begin, you can just jump in with us. And I'll have these little thought bubbles throughout my slides, also nearly every day. These are things that I am going to ask you all when we're in person for some little discussion. And these are often questions that I have on your notes page and a little blank space for you to write down your own thoughts. So I want everybody to be thinking about these questions, and some might like to share out loud. Everyone should at least write down some thoughts on paper. So I won't go through those types of questions in these recorded sessions. This is more for discussion when we are in person. I want you to store these notes somewhere. I don't care where. I'm not going to have like organized binder checks, but you need to have them. You just need to keep yourself organized in some kind of way. If you need more guidance, I can help you with that. But that's all I'm going to say for my guideline. Just keep them organized. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about a little bit more warm-up expectations, question of the day, current events, slides, notes, activities, expectations, and for your exit ticket. My second block classes will have video announcements from Dr. Harrell and the team. You must, during this time, be listening silently with your full attention. You can watch quietly, you can take notes, you can multitask on your warm-up if you would like to. You must listen, therefore you may not leave the room during the morning announcements. You must wait until after the morning announcements are over. When the bell rings or when the announcements are over, if you're in my second block, you should already be sitting in your seat and getting your warm up pulled up and open. I want you always to try the warm up on your own first. This is usually a review of the previous day's material or like a check in about what you might know about what we're going to learn that day. Therefore, just try it yourself, okay? After a few minutes, you're welcome to collaborate with people, ask some questions, but I just want you to try to ponder with your own brain at first. If you are absent, it is not required to make up warm ups at home, but you might choose to. We'll also have little breaks within our slides for turn and talks. So these are opportunities for you to turn to your table and talk about a guided question. So when I have something like this, like we'll do in class with this question, what about warm-ups is helpful? What's not as helpful? You should turn to your table and share whatever thoughts come to mind, as long as it's on topic and you're being receptive to other people's opinions and listening respectfully. As people work independently on their warm-up, we will go into a question of the day nearly every day. This is really intended to help us get to know each other as a classroom community. So I will have designed a question or taken some feedback or suggestions from you all to ask you all a question to get to know each other a little bit better. So when we do this, you should be either multitasking by working on your warm up individually or just listening intently to what other people have to say. So it's really important that we are not calling out our answers. I'll take a volunteer to go first, and then we'll just go alphabetical around the room to the rest of the class to answer the question at hand. So on the first day, I will ask you the question of the day question. If you don't have an answer, that's always fine as well. This is a way for me to like take attendance, but instead of you guys saying here, present, you can answer an insightful question about yourself. Something we will also do is go over just a few current events happening in the world each day. So this is a great way to connect our material that we're learning in American history class to things that are still going on globally and in the United States today. This helps to build you all as active citizens. And again, it's important that you listen intently and actively. If you have comments, questions, it's always important to raise your hand. And this helps me to get to know your names well at the beginning of the year, so that when you would like to speak, I can recall your name before inviting you to contribute to the conversation. So, for example, there were many things that happened this summer. We could talk about Ocean Gate. We could talk about colleges no longer considering race in their admission processes. We could talk about the fires occurring in Maui and Hawaii right now. So when we're in class, we'll delve into a little more detail about these. And it's always important that, for example, the second one, this can be a bit of a divisive topic. And this current event section is not really a place to have a lively, open debate just because we don't have time for it. This is a quick check-in about what's going on in the world. But if something were to come up, if people were to share their opinions on something like this, it's always important to be respectful of what other people believe, to always back up your opinions by research or personal experiences even can be brought up in situations like this. And everyone should be listening intently. If you'd like to respond to someone else, always be raising your hand and waiting for an appropriate moment rather than calling out. Something else that we will go over is seating expectations. So on the first day, I'm going to have you organize pretty alphabetically. I will modify this over time. So where I have you on the first day is not going to be your seat for the entire year. As we get to know each other better, we will change up the seating a little bit here. Now, if you do not have your Chromebook charged, I use Chromebooks nearly every single day. I would rather you move in order to charge your Chromebook than you not be able to do your work because your Chromebook is not charged. So under that circumstance, You may move near a charger. There are not many in my classroom, unfortunately. So please, please, please do your best to bring your completely charged Chromebook to school every single day. That is the only circumstance where you should be sitting somewhere besides your assigned seat. I will leave seating charts for the substitutes, and we'll be holding you to this standard that you should be seated where I have assigned you. I take a lot of care in assigning seats with groups that I think will be very beneficial to you, and there are a lot of data-driven analysis behind my seating arrangements. So please respect the time I've put into that decision-making once we've gotten to know each other, and sit where I have assigned for you. If you have anything that you would like to let me know about, for example, like you really need to be close to the board to see properly, or you need to be close to my desk so that I can hold you accountable, you need to be close to the door due to medical conditions that might require you to leave, something like that, please just let me know. A quick check-in conversation before or after class or by email, something like that would be fine. So now we are going to go into a section of class that we will also have nearly every day. I call it content delivery. So this is basically when I'm discussing slides with you guys, when I'm conveying new information. Again, the expectation is the same. You should be listening quietly and actively. You should raise your hand before participating. Wait for me to let you know that it's a good time for you to participate. And the only reason you should be using your Chromebook during content delivery is to follow along with the slides. If you cannot handle that responsibility, you will not be able to look at the slides on your Chromebook. I will, of course, work with you over time to monitor this and check in with you about what the problem might be if you are off task once or twice. But if this becomes a repeated pattern, you will lose your Chromebook privileges during content delivery. I have a brief description of the course here, just for your syllabus, for your families to look over. American history is going to run from the Revolutionary War through the present day, and therefore we have a lot to cover. This course has changed a lot over the past few years. It was originally divided into two, American 1 and 2, but they've now condensed it into one. So this course has gotten a lot more challenging, as what used to be 2 years worth of content is now in just 1 year. We, of course, will work together to make you all successful. So I have a few outlines of what our units are going to include. We have 9 units. I have dates on here, I have topics on here, so that you can go ahead and get a little preview about what we'll be learning about, what the units will include, what the layout will look like. No need to walk through all of them right now. Let's look at the first 2, because the first 2 are going to be the first quarter. So our first quarter together is going to be about the Revolution and building of the United States, and then expansion and reform. So that's about moving west and reforming what they created in the beginning of the nation. So we'll go through modern America, through some of the modern presidents from the beginning. I'd like to tell you a little bit about materials and supplies to bring every day. Sorry, just testing something out there. Again, something to store your papers in. I'm not going to be checking it, but a folder or a binder, even if it's shared with another class, something to stay organized, whatever works best for you. Pencils or pens. I have very limited supplies to share with you guys. I want you to be successful every single day, and that means bringing your own writing utensil. Chromebook and Chromebook charger. If you might forget to charge your Chromebook, bring your charger. If your Chromebook often doesn't last throughout the whole day, bring your charger. Highlighters, colored pencils are nice to have, but not required, as well as scissors. This is the same for all of your classes. Your assignments will either be prepare, rehearse, or perform. And we're on a 10-point grading scale, so 90 to 100 is an A, and so on. Prepare assignments are the smallest. These are like classwork, your warm-ups and exits. They're 20% of your grade. Rehearse analysis are ID quizzes. So these are, we'll talk about IDs later. Midpoint quizzes, document analysis, things like this, 30% of your grade. And perform assignments are unit assessments, that's tests. Big writing assignments, projects, and these are 50% of your grade. So that should be the same in every class. Let's talk briefly about if you are absent. If you are absent for classwork, you should submit the makeup work and you'll have no late penalty for up to 5 days after when you return to school. If you're absent for quizzes or tests, you can make them up during class or set up a time before or after school or during second lunch. You can find an outline on Canvas every day of what you have missed. If there are any printouts, you'll find them in, I have like a cabinet thing in the back. I'll show you guys when in person where you can find that. You can always email me or talk to me with any specific questions. If you were absent the day before a test or a quiz and we covered new material on that day, you can take an extra day before you have to take the quiz or the test. However, if we did a review day on the day that you were absent, you should still plan to take the test the same day as everybody else, the test or quiz, same day as everybody else. It's good to stay on track if you can, to take the quizzes or tests the same day as planned if you're absent the day before. But if, for example, you were very sick and you weren't able to learn the new material or study, I understand that you might need an extra day, and that will be your choice. Here's some late work expectations. You should always, always, always submit work no matter how late it is. Everything that is assigned for a reason. I do not give you busy work. Therefore, everything contributes to your success in this class. The late work penalty is 5 points per day using a 100-point scale, and there will be 0 dates. These always fall at least 5 days after the original due date, after which I will accept no further late submissions. And I will announce these as they approach. So this is essentially like if the unit is ending, I am going to set up a 0 date. So this means that everything from this unit will not be accepted after this date. Or for example, the quarter is coming to a close. I obviously, once my grades are due for the quarter, I can't go back into that quarter and make changes. Therefore, you will need to submit everything or receive a 0. I aim to grade late stuff at least once a week. So if you submit something late on Canvas, you don't need to email me. You don't need to tell me even. I will be able to see it. If more than a week goes by and then you haven't seen a grade update, then you can remind me and let me know. I will follow the school policy on phones. Do not have your phone in my class for any reason. I will take it and give it to the office, and the office will follow their policy of keeping it for 3 school days or longer, depending on previous offenses. Headphones and earbuds follow the same rule. Please understand that this is your warning. You will not receive a warning. As far as Chromebooks, you should manage these devices responsibly. I'm able to help manage you as well through things like Dino. If we cannot manage ourselves, if you repeatedly cannot use this responsibility of using the Chromebook during class, I will make paper copies for you and you will not use your Chromebook during class. If you have some kind of emergency that requires you to contact your family, you must let me know first. If you pull out your phone, I don't know that there's an emergency going on. The phone goes to the office. If you tell me, hey, there's a recent death in the family, hey, I need to figure out something with my parents about how I'm getting home today, let me know. We'll figure out a way for you to contact them during an appropriate time. I have some plagiarism rules outlined here. I hope that this is something that we never have any issues with this year. Sometimes, as part of the assignment, I'll have you share documents with your group and collaborate. This will be very clear when it is part of the assignment. If it's not, there is no circumstance where you should share your document with anyone else. Last year, I had a student share a document with another student who is absent, and that student just used it as a guideline. Shouldn't have done that, but I never would have found out. But then that student who was absent shared it with their friend, and the original student was the one who got in trouble for this because she's sharing her document around, and of course the third student who copied it. This was a side tangent, but it's just an example of don't share your work for any reason. Don't share your work to someone who you trust. Don't share your work to someone who is absent. You never know who else they might share that work with and what could happen next. Never, ever, ever share your work with anybody. If somebody is having questions, try to help them through their questions or direct them to me, and I will obviously help them through their questions. Do not answer questions by sending your answers. We will use Turnitin. We will use AI detection software. Significant plagiarism from these methods will result in a 0%. I'm going to be sharing feedback with you that includes strengths, areas for improvement, and next steps. I always write feedback if I've deducted points for any reason. You can see that feedback in Canvas or PowerSchool comments or written on paper if you turn something in on paper. However, sometimes I will not have time to give everybody individualized feedback, in which case I'll usually have a slide up that says some major highlights to look for in your work. The only reason I wouldn't write feedback is if you earn 100%. Sometimes I won't have time to write you feedback. If you want feedback and you earned 100, just let me know and we'll talk about it in more detail. I try my best to grade all assignments within a week of the due date. You're welcome to come to tutoring, email me, talk to me for further feedback than what I've written. I will reach out to your families with positive things about you and things that I think they can better support you in making sure that you succeed in the class. I have given them the option to sign up for newsletters from me so that they get some updates. And I will write to them about halfway through the quarter with a progress report. This basically just says what grade you currently have in the class, in case this is not a parent that is quite involved with PowerSchool. I will typically, unless it's like an emergency situation, I'll reach out to your family first before I reach out to administration for any issues with plagiarism or not following classroom expectations. Your family will hear about it from me first before they hear about it from an administration member. So that's an assistant principal or principal. Next, we're going to go over how to participate in a think, pair, share. On your papers, when we have a think, pair, share, I'll have you jot down your thoughts to a question. Just by yourself, whatever comes to mind. Then you'll talk to somebody near you. Talk to your table. What did you write down on your paper? Build off each other's thoughts. And then we'll raise our hands and share out loud. So during that time, you can share your own thoughts. You can share something good that you heard. That question that we'll practice in class is, what should you do if you're struggling in class? And then I have an answer for you up here. Attend class. Please, please, please do your best to attend as often as possible and stay on top of your work if you need to miss for any reason. Participate by following along in the notes, participating verbally by raising your hand, participating in these turn-in talks, these think, pair, shares, in your daily activities. Participate. Complete all of your assignments. It's much harder to fail if you don't have any zeros for missing work. Retake your tests. If you score lower than 80 on your test, if you've done your study guide before the test, you are welcome to retake that test, to retry it for up to an 80%. You can do it after school or during class. Attend tutoring if you're struggling. My official tutoring time is after school on Mondays, but I'm here a lot. Check with me anytime. And communicate with me. I am very willing to work with you. If you do not reach out to me until the last week of the quarter, there's not much I can do to help you at that point. Please be reaching out consistently if you are in need of help. On that last slide, I said participation as one of the things you should do. Here's what participation includes. We need to be listening actively, verbally participating when prompted, using technology wisely, and staying awake. When I ask you to turn and talk, when there's some collaborative work, all of your conversations should be rooted in the content. We should not be off topic. When you're in American history class, when you're in my class, you should only be working on things for my class, for American history. 11th grade, which most of you are in, is a challenging year, I know. Chemistry is one of the hardest classes. I need you to prepare for your other classes at home, at lunch, at a study hall, before school, after school, not during my class. My class is for my class's content. You should not be multitasking with other classes' content during my class. If you are able to give 100% of your attention and energy to American history while you're in American history, you should have very limited work needed outside of this class. Limited amounts of homework. Hopefully, limited amounts of studying. If you're giving your all every single day while we are together in this classroom. If you need to use the restroom, get water, leave the class for some reason, during my class, I'm going to have this little corner of the whiteboard for people to write their names. I don't need you to interrupt the lesson and say, hey, can I use the restroom? I want you to glance at that little section of the whiteboard. I'll show you where it is in person. If there's nobody's name on there, that means nobody's gone. Write your name on the board so I know who is out. Leave your cell phone in the room, in my phone bucket, and trade it for a pass. When you come back, erase your name so that I know that nobody's out of the room. You've returned. If you glance at the board and somebody's name is on the board, you can go ahead and write your name next on the list so that when the first person comes back and erases their name, that means it's your turn to go. When you're at the top of the name list, that means it's your turn to go to the restroom. And then you just do the same thing. Turn in your phone, trade it for a pass, go on to the restroom or to get water. Now, another guideline is that you cannot use the restroom or get water within the first or last 10 minutes of class. This is a school-wide rule. This is so that our security is able to check and make sure within the first and last 10 minutes that everyone is accounted for. We know where everyone is. Nobody should be in the restroom. If you need to use the restroom and if you have like existing medical conditions that would require you to be out for more than 5 minutes each time, go ahead and let me know up front so that I don't have to embarrass you with any questions. If there's any more specific circumstances, like, hey, just this particular day, I'm not feeling well, I might be more than 5 minutes. Let me know, because if people are gone in the restroom for a long time, I'm not able to leave my entire other 33 students and go and check on you. But if you're having some kind of medical emergency, I don't want to have you suffering and me not know about it. Or I just worry about, where is this person? They've been gone a long time. Are they doing what they are supposed to be doing right now? So please, if there is a legitimate reason that you're going to be gone quite a bit of time, let me know. If not, I might have to send security to find you, just to make sure you are safe. We are all safe. If you need to go somewhere besides getting restroom or water, such as to see a counselor, you forgot something in another room, you need to use the phone in the office, something like this, let me know where you're going rather than just writing your name on the board and then going. You'll still write your name on the board. This way, I'll just know this could be something that could take a bit longer, or if there is some kind of emergency, I know where you are. Speaking of which, if you're out of the room for any reason and an emergency takes place, like a fire drill or a lockdown drill, join whatever class is nearest to you. Conform with the class nearest to you. No reason to come all the way back to my room. Go to the one nearest to you to protect yourself in the case of an emergency. I really like to use Dino. There's these polling questions on Dino. And on these Dino polling questions, I'm actually gonna do a little move for thinking about moving this slide to be by my seating. Yeah. We'll put it by my seating slide. Sorry about this. I would just like to talk about it in the same area because I'm gonna have you do a little practice question. It's about where you like to sit. So with these Dino questions, you are basically doing an anonymous poll. So I'll send you out some questions. You'll be able to choose an answer. This will usually be like a practice multiple choice question, or sometimes just like a poll to see where we are, how we're feeling about the topic at hand, etc. Just going back to my place now. I'm going to do another example of a turn and talk, like just ask the people at your table, talk to the people at your table. What else do you think? What other expectations would help you guide this class well? And then we're going to have different types of activities. Today, I'm just going to tell you about the expectations for individual activities, because today is going to be an individual activity. We will have different types of activities. This one is individual. During an individual activity, you should be working on the task at hand with the volume level as a whisper. If you are whispering, it should be about the task at hand. And if you finish early, I'll have a to-do list for you. So if you finish early, that's not free time to do whatever you'd like. There's always more to be done for this class specifically. So today's individual activity is for you to get out a blank piece of paper, copy paper, notebook paper, whatever. You're going to write me a letter. Say, "Dear Mrs. Bradshaw, in this letter, introduce yourself. Tell me your name, grade, interests, something interesting about you. Who do you live with at home? What's your after-school routine like? What do you like? What do you dislike about social studies? How do you like to learn? What's your learning style, and how can I help you succeed? And how does your identity impact how you view history?" Now, don't overthink this last question. I just want you to be thinking about your personal experiences and how they impact how you might interpret the events that we discuss. For example, your gender could influence how you view some of the events. Your ethnic identity might. How long your family has lived in the United States might. Your native language might influence this. Your age could influence this. For example, older people lived through a lot of the events that we'll be discussing, while younger people will have less personal knowledge of those events. Those are aspects of your identity and many others. that can influence how you view history. So I'm going to set a little timer for us to get started on this. And then once I see some people finishing up, I'm going to give you this little to-do list. If you finish that, we're going to do a little timeline. Make a timeline of some events of your life. So this helps us just begin to visualizing chronological order and things like this, cause and effect relationships. So these are some directions for that. I'll go over them more in person depending on how much time we have this day. I'm going to skip going over my little personal timeline. We'll talk about that in class if we get to that activity. It's kind of like an if time activity. So often I will have something if time, and then depending on how fast we progress through the other things, we might have time to go on to something a little additional. In this case, today is about getting to know the rules and expectations and getting to know each other a little bit. So that's just another way for us to get to know each other. Finally, the last few minutes of class each day, you will have an exit ticket. So once we wrap up our slides or our activity, I'm going to announce the exit ticket, and you should remain in your seat until the bell, working on your exit ticket. Similar to the warm-up, you should try this on your own first. After you attempt it on your own, you can talk to your table, you can raise your hand with questions. You should not be collaborating with people at other tables. And similar to warm-ups, if you're absent, it is not required to make up the exit ticket, but you can choose to do so. So for today's exit ticket, I want you to write down a goal that you have for yourself for Unit 1 on an index card. I'm going to pass you out some index cards. I want you to keep this index card somewhere where you can check on it later. We're going to come back to this goal throughout the unit and submit it on the last day of the unit. So on the front, you'll have your original goal. On the back, you'll have some check-ins that I'll lead you in throughout the unit. And then on the last day of the unit, you'll reflect on how the goal went, modify it, and create a new Unit 2 goal after we finish Unit 1. Thank you all so much for using this resource. Please let me know if it was helpful. And of any specific needs that you might have throughout this year. I want to make this a great, successful year for you. I'm really excited to be working with you, and I'm excited to get to know you better and hopefully help you find some interest in history and connections to your daily lives. Thank you guys so much. See you soon.